Are you saving up and trying to build wealth in your 401k? Well, you might be interested in the answer to this question. What actually drives long-term value in your 401k? Is it pre-tax or Roth? Is it your investment allocation? You might be surprised what research has found. I've got that perspective and more coming up. If you have a 401k available to you, you know you've got 5 key decisions that you have to make. Everyone with a 401k has to make these 5 decisions. And the big idea is you've got to make intentional decisions. A lot of people just sort of phone it in, or maybe, I've just got to check this, I got to do this, and they're not intentional. And the decisions you make with your 401k, they tend to build habits and compound. I want you to build and compound the right habits. What are those 5 decisions that you need to make? First, deciding pre-tax or Roth. Everyone needs to decide that. And I would argue you need to confirm that decision on an ongoing basis, at least every single year. Does it still make sense? I've been doing Roth. Does that still make sense? I've been doing, pre-tax. Does that still make sense? You've got to make that decision looking at your tax plan and your entire financial picture. So that's the first decision, pre-tax or Roth. Second, how much should you contribute? We recommend from your very first dollar, saving 15%. Now, are you able to save a little bit more? Are you in a life situation where you need to save a little bit less and build up over time? How much are you saving? What's your savings contribution? Third, how are you going to invest it? Do you pick your own investment? Do you use a target date fund? Do you work with someone and they help you build an allocation? What's your investment mix? Kevin Korhorn, founder of Korhorn Financial Group, has said, if you were to just ask of all the really, really big financial decisions that you make in your life, which one is the most important? He said that one, your investment allocation, your investment mix. Fourth decision, what's your rebalance schedule? Yeah, that's an important one. So many people just gloss over that. But if you've picked a recipe, that investment mix, how frequently do you snap back to that original recipe? Well, if one area is getting a little overweight and one area is getting underweight, how frequently do you rebalance back to that original recipe? And then the fifth decision, who's the beneficiary? Who would receive this money? What are the instructions? What are your intentions for these dollars? If something happens to you, where should they go? You got to list that out. So those are the 5 decisions that everyone needs to make. If you've got a 401k, you've got to make those decisions. It's got to be intentional. And those decisions absolutely, maybe other than the beneficiary, absolutely drive the potential value of your 401k over your lifetime, over your career. So the question is, well, in what magnitude? Which of those variables, let's say 4 of those 5, which of them actually do the most to drive long-term value in your 401k? Ran across this article, actually forwarded to me by Kevin Korhorn. He found it interesting. I found it very interesting. And it actually dives into the answer to that question, although from a retirement planning sort of geeky perspective. So I've got the link to the article in the description below, so make sure you check it out. But it actually answers that question. What actually drives long-term value in your 401k? First, from an investment mix. And it touches on that because that's what so many people, if I were to ask you, just, hey, leave your answer below. If you were to ask, well, which of those 4 variables determines or drives most of the long-term value of your 401k, you're likely going to say that third one, that investment mix. It's the one that we're all drawn to. We want to have an optimal mix. We want to time things right. And yeah, this is where the research starts. This individual says that, yeah, most 401ks, your investment choices, you can sort of bunch together into 3 different categories. Most 401ks have target date funds. We've talked about that a lot. Not going to go deep in explaining what those are, but most of them do. You get to pick one mutual fund. It's prefabricated, so it's pre-diversified. Even though it's one fund, underneath the hood, it's got a lot of holdings, and those holdings sort of the risk reward or the stock bond ratio adapts as you get closer and closer to the retirement date that you've selected for that for that target date retirement fund. So that's one category. Second category is DIY, do it yourself, where you get to pick your own investment choices. Okay, I want everything here, I want everything there, I want to pick my own mix. That's the second category. And then the third is what the article is referring to and the research is referring to is managed account. And that is basically a professional, financial professional picked a mix and you chose to invest in that managed account. Well, the research, I'm not really surprised by this, showed that when comparing, when analyzing a lot of different 401k data, that of those three categories, that the managed account actually tended to perform significantly better, better over time, but significantly better, not even close. And again, I didn't think that was all that surprising, especially when I think a lot of folks, one of the mistakes with target date funds is they don't pick a target date fund that aligns with what they're actually aiming towards. The other thing is you're not fully diversified underneath the hood. You don't know what's in it. Some of it could be good, some of it could be bad. You might be missing some exposure to other areas. And then that's also a challenge with the do-it-yourself is oftentimes people look at their investment lineup and let me see what's done well lately. I'm going to put everything there. And then when the market starts having some volatility, like we're seeing right now, a lot of folks do the DIY. I'm going to move it all to conservative. I'll wait till it's safe and then I'll reinvest. So I'm not surprised that the managed account or the professionally selected asset allocation, the research is showing that tends to do better. However, that's not the primary driver of what really drives the long-term value of a 401k. Huge contributor for sure, but it's not the thing that determines how much, or the primary thing that determines how much is in your 401k over the long term. What is that variable? Guys, it's that second one. It's, if the first one is pre-tax or Roth, yeah, that makes a big difference on how much of your 401k you get to keep. The second decision everyone needs to make when they've got their 401k is how much are you contributing? How much are you contributing? That is the number one factor in determining, well, what's the value of your 401k the day you retire, right? All of these factors all drive in either a big magnitude or a minor one. Okay, what is going to be the value of your 401k out there when you retire? And the number one driver of that is how much are you feeding it? How much are you contributing? And that's the other thing that this research showed is individuals that used managed accounts, basically that were using a financial professional to pick the mix, they actually tended to contribute more. They contributed more than folks that just selected target date funds or do-it-yourself allocations. They contributed even more to their 401k, and that led to even more success in their 401k over the long term. It reminds me, early in my career, I was working with a young professional couple, and they were very, very interested in getting off to a good start financially. They had recently been married, and they came in to see me because they wanted the right financial habits. And so we worked through their entire financial situation, and every time we'd meet, and we established goals and metrics and so on, and we did lots of analysis, and it was going great. However, every time we would meet, they would then say, all right, how's the investment doing? How's the investment doing? The problem is their investment was doing great, actually. It was the allocation that we picked, and during this time period, it was fantastic. However, in order to achieve their goals, their plan suggested they needed to be saving about $1,000 a month at the time, and they were saving about $100. There was no amount of outsized investment performance that was going to be able to make up that gap. The only way to do it would be sort of gambling investing, in which would be, I'm just going to hope I pick the next Amazon or the next Nvidia or something like that. And that is not while that can definitely create a lot of wealth, it's not reliable, and that's not a strategy that I would recommend. And therefore, how much are you funding your 401k? That is going to be the biggest contributor or factor in determining, well, what's the size of your 401k on the day you retire? When you look at this from a comprehensive financial planning perspective, looking at all 6 areas of your financial life, so often people look at their 401k as investment planning. What's the right mix, or how do I pick the right allocation, the right investments so that my 401k can do really well? And that is important. It's one of the 6 areas of your financial life, and it gets a disproportionate amount of attention, and maybe it should, but it's not the only factor. Turns out, present financial position, the first area of all of our financial lives, it's your cash flow, it's your balance sheet, it's looking at how you're doing managing your day-to-day finances. Turns out that boring little area tends to be the biggest factor in driving that investment planning, in driving, well, what ultimately will you have inside of your retirement portfolio or your 401k? And that drives your retirement plan, which is the 5th area. It drives your tax planning decisions and so on. It really is your present financial position. It really is the engine that funds all of your other goals. So Are you taking a comprehensive approach to your financial life, looking at all 6 areas? And are you feeding your 401k the right amount of contributions so that you can reach your financial goals? So you got to work with your CFP on that. Look at all 6 areas of your financial life, build out that 5-factor retirement plan, answer those five questions about your 401k, and really build wealth in your 401k, having it reach the potential that it has for you in your financial future. So work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.